Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la ilaha illallah, Wallahu akbar, Wallahu akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Naima Khan Ghani, and I'll be your host for today's edition of Who's Who in America and the Community. This segment brings to you committed individuals in the community who have dedicated their lives to serving Allah. We introduce a wide cross-section of individuals who come from national, local, and international levels. We hope that they will serve as an inspiration to you and motivate you to get involved in your community. Today in the studio with me is my very special guest, Brother Nezar Hamze, who is the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Welcome to the program, Brother Nezar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. It is certainly a pleasure to have you. First of all, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, how long have you been a Muslim? Because I know I'm guilty of stereotyping here, so tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's a good question. I get that question all the time. I was a born Muslim, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, my mother is American and my father is Lebanese. He's a Lebanese Muslim. So I've been born and raised Muslim my entire life. I was born in Warren, Michigan. However, I was raised in South Florida. I've been in South Florida for over 30 years now.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a South Floridian.
Good.
South Florida all the way.
So you're old to South Florida, but new to us.
Yeah, getting involved in the community,
yes.
yes, full-time, yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Because I know I have to apologize because I'm just looking at you and I'm thinking, and I'm sure you said you get this question all the time. People look at you and they can't help but wonder, okay, he was not born a Muslim, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm sure people are really surprised at that response. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that we have individuals like that who may not look like Muslims, but they really are deep down. So mashallah. Tell us a little bit about you and your professional background before we actually get into Cair.
Sure. My profession, out of high school, I studied automotive technology, and that is my business. That's where I morphed into operations management. I've got over 15 years of multi-level, multi-store operations management. That was my education, and that was also my profession. So in the 15 years, I've authored leadership programs, leadership training programs. So I have quite a bit of experience in leading people, effective leadership in people, and building relationships.
Well, that's great, and that just fits perfect with this organization.
Correct.
Because that's exactly the basis of what you do at Cair.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I do.
So how did you personally get involved and become the Executive Director of Cair?
I started volunteering for Cair back in 2008, doing different events. 2008, doing different events and attending picnics and trying to get involved in the community. I moved up to South Carolina briefly to open up a business up there. I was on the board of directors for Cair South Carolina for a while. I got an email from the local chapter down here saying they were looking for an executive director. And obviously, me being from South Florida and me having that fire in me to serve the community, I said, you know what, let me jump in with full time.
So all of this started on a voluntary basis. You were volunteering.
Oh, absolutely. I started volunteering, and the exact moment I can recall why. When a couple years ago, I believe it was in 2007 or 2008, there was a DVD that was distributed. It was called Obsession.
Oh, yes, that was a big thing here.
Yeah, and it was real aggressive, and it was anti-Islam, anti-Muslim. That burned. That really kind of ignited a fire in me that is just growing stronger and stronger every day. And that really took me to a new level of understanding what volunteering for the community means, and the dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to serve Allah every day. I really bring it to a new level. So it's kind of ironic that people that brought that movie to the community were to try to hurt the Muslims, and it had the opposite. It backfired and helped them tremendously.
It sort of brought a lot of Muslims together and a lot of
Absolutely.
Organizations together to see what they can do to counteract that.
Yes.
So it really had a lot of positive
Yes.
came out of it. And I know as Muslims, that's what we try to do. We try to find the good in everything and try to find something that's positive, even if it's something that's not so good.
Yeah. Allah is the best of planners.
That's good, of course. Yes, we plan, but He is the best of planners.
Yes, yes.
Very true. So that's interesting that you're starting off at a voluntary basis, and then that sparked, and this is why this program was originated, to show individuals in the community how volunteering, you know, can lead to so many different things, and one individual can definitely make a difference.
Yes.
And you've certainly proven that so far.
Yes.
At this point, we'll be taking a short break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Toyota of Hollywood. No matter what your new car needs are, it's our goal to make every step of your ownership experience as easy as possible. Let our professional, trained sales staff help you find the right car at the right price. Discover an easy ownership experience at Toyota of Hollywood today. We're conveniently located at 1841 North 60th Avenue in Hollywood, Florida.
Will you like to have your events broadcasted live? Contact Al-Hikmat Productions, a full-service video production for Islamic functions, weddings, seminars, etc. For more details, contact Al-Hikmat office 1-800-804-0267. That's 1-800-804-0267. Eat healthy, eat halal at Ashraf's Halal Meat Center for all your East and West Indian grocery for genuine halal U.S.A. meat. Stop in or call in your orders at 305-654-0195. That's 305-654-0195.
Are you tired of calling cards? Are you fed up of those long PIN numbers? Then use Sensible, international direct calling for cents only. For more details, contact the Al-Hikmat office at 954-986-0158. That's 954-986-0158.
Estinate Caribbean Market, East and West Indian grocery for all your halal meats, fish, and vegetables. Call to place your order at 954-961-6160. That's 954-961-6160.
Are you a student seeking scholarship or financial aid to study Islam? Contact Al-Hikmat Services at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. That's 954-986-0158. We also have locations in Jamaica and Trinidad, West Indies.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you're now joining us, my guest today in the studio is Brother Nezar Hamze, who is the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We left off where he was talking about a little bit about himself, who he is, and of course his his birth into Islam. He was telling us of his background, and of his interest in volunteering with Cair. At this point, Brother Nezar, please tell me, how long has Cair itself as an organization been in existence?
Sure. Cair was founded by Nihad Ahwad, and it was established in 1994. There's over 30 chapters throughout the United States. There is 3 chapters here in Florida. Cair Florida was established in 2000, the year 2000. So the organization has been around since 1994. Cair Florida has been around since 2000.
So we're fairly new in Florida.
Yeah,
it took us a while before one was founded in Florida. Yeah. Why was that?
Actually, I'm not sure if you remember, Brother Althoff was the founding member of Cair. Actually, the founding member. Active in the community. He was very lovely brother, fantastic man. But he is the one that started it. So I would have to ask him to find out exactly why it took so long. But he did a great job. It's here, alhamdulillah, and it's going.
Because I know usually everything just goes so much faster outside of Florida, and it seems to take a while before it picks up pace here for us to pick up on things that goes out, that's going on at a national level, even international level. So I was just curious in why, if it's been in existence since in the 90s, why it took a while for us to establish. Do you think there wasn't a need for it at the time? Maybe the interest of the community wasn't as peaked as it is now?
No, I think there was a need. However, as a community, I can see as growing up in the community, we're as a whole, the Muslim community doesn't respond very quickly. I guess they bring back from the countries they're from, because the majority of the Muslims, so many cultures, that's maybe in the culture where to just sit back a little bit and not respond. So I think that's why, maybe a reason, but alhamdulillah, we're up and we're running, and we're doing good.
And you seem very motivated and very vibrant, that you want to make sure that you get the message out there that Cair does exist, it is here to stay, and you have a message. So what is the purpose of Cair?
Sure. CAIR, we're the Council on American Islamic Relations. Our main job is to protect the civil rights and the civil liberties for the Muslim community. That is our job. And I'll give you some examples of what we do. Just recently, a young lady lost her job because she had the hijab. She was wearing the hijab. The manager in the store loved her, loved the way she worked, but the district manager found out she was Muslim wearing the hijab. She was fired immediately.
But is that given as a reason? I'm always curious about that. Yeah, specifically say the reason you lost your job is because you're wearing the hijab.
Yes, yes. In this particular case, it was very, very blunt. It was very
because that is a blatant defiance of your rights.
That's right. It is a blatant defiance of our
organization would say, "Hey, look, I'm firing you because you're wearing the hijab."
Yeah. And again, to go back to kind of the culture, the reason why I believe that companies and the community think they can do that is because the Muslims don't speak up. They just take it and they say, it's okay, alhamdulillah, we'll go find another job. But it's important for the American Muslim community to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given the American Constitution to the Muslims and to everyone else in America, and we are able to practice our religion, and there's laws to protect us. So in this particular case with this young lady, so you know how CAIR handles it, she called and filed a complaint. We initiated contact with the company, and we mediated, and we were able to get her job back with back pay. So this is an example of something that CAIR handles.
So you have lawyers on your team as well that would assist you in things like
We don't have staff attorneys that work for us. However, CAIR as an organization has many lawyers working for them. We just refer our cases to local lawyers, so we don't have any on staff, but we do have a network of attorneys, yes.
That's great. So you're making sure that whoever your clients are, that they get the best help possible to ensure that their rights are not treaded upon.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's CAIR's expertise. The civil rights, that's our expertise. That's where we have a huge network in the country, and we have quite a bit of case experience on how to deal with certain issues, certain dynamics of certain cases. That's what our expertise is, and that's what we thrive on, is protecting the Muslims' rights.
Great. So out of curiosity, was that particular case in South Florida, or was it at an international level?
No, it was just right here in South Florida.
Here, right at home.
Right
at
home.
Backyard.
Not too far from here, as a matter of fact.
Okay, we won't get into more details for confidentiality. That's okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's really good. I'm glad that you mentioned the point where Muslims are at the point where they're sitting back and they're being very passive.
Yes.
And we do need to realize and recognize what our rights are, and don't allow people to threat upon us, and take away what is rightfully us, because we're human beings just like everybody else.
That's right.
Making us Muslim does not mean you take away your rights or you have to give up your rights in any way. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that.
Yes,
you know, that we do need to speak up and stop being as passive, passive community as we've been in the past.
Yes. Part of our, the initial rollout, what we've rolled out, so you know what we're doing locally with CAIR, is we've rolled out our training series, Know Your Rights training series, because a lot of Muslims don't know what their rights are.
That's
so
true.
CAIR's job, and we don't charge for this, obviously, this is just our job, this is what we do. Everything we do is voluntary, correct. We're a nonprofit organization. We, right now our program is a Know Your Rights training series. We go to each individual community, each individual masjid, and we give presentations to the masjid and to the community on training them on what their rights are. So they know what their rights are with being an employee. They know what their rights are dealing with law enforcement. They know what their rights are when they travel. They know their rights are regarding hate crimes and discrimination. So we give comprehensive training to the Muslim community, because education is the foundation for anyone to be successful. So that's the first step, is for the community to be educated on what their rights are. So that's what CAIR is doing right now. And it's a long process. It doesn't happen in a month or two. It takes years to go to all the masjid. There's quite a few in South Florida.
Yes,
to go and visit all of them, give them the training, give them the little documentation to help them, and to also revisit and do the training again, because you don't get everybody on their first shot. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're not just going out there and say, okay, it's a one-time thing and you're done.
No.
You go back and you make sure that they've absorbed and they're able to ask questions.
Correct.
What has been the response from the community so far? Because I think it's a fantastic project that you're doing, going out and letting people know what their rights.
It's that you use the word a little maybe complacent or
very passive.
Passive,
yes.
yeah, that's a good word. I'm going to steal that word.
Okay.
The community is very passive. The ones that actually do show up, you know, sometimes I go to some communities that have 10 to 20, sometimes 40 to 50. However, whatever ones are there, they enjoy it tremendously. They come up to me after and they say, brother, I had no idea I had all those rights. And it's you know, it's rewarding that I can help a Muslim. You know, every day when I wake up, my goal is to help one Muslim with one problem, to take one thing away from them, one problem from them. So inshallah, I can get the reward from Allah. But it is very rewarding to go out. However, the majority of the community is not represented. Like when you go to Jummah prayer, there's 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 people, you know, going to pray, depending on which masjid you go to, and there's a fraction of that is represented in the training. So, inshallah, I can, you know, keep working, and every day I'm going to keep working. When I go to the masjids, I'll tell them, I say, listen, I'll come back 100 times. If I can help one person every time, then I'm succeeding. So, we're going to keep hitting the road, you know, putting the rubber to the road with this training for our community.
You know, yes, I'm impressed, and I can hear and feel the compassion in your voice as you speak about this, because you seem to be really committed to getting, you know, the goals of Cair out there to the community. Out of total curiosity, the feedback that you get from the communities, have you noticed a difference in terms of the cultural or ethnicity of the groups that you attend? Or is one group more receptive than another, or it just doesn't matter? No,
I haven't received a split as far as feedback. Like I said, it's been pretty. They've been pretty acceptive and very thankful for the training once they receive it. And again, most of the time, this is an eye opener. You know, that, you know, they have the right, you know, to go pray at work.
So that's regardless of the ethnic background.
Regardless,
so it doesn't matter. They show that interest.
Absolutely,
regardless.
yeah.
Because most of our masajids, they're either the majority of people belong to what ethnic group. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reality. So I was just wondering if, you know, one group may be a bit more curious than the other, or they just share the same across the board.
No, there's a little more apprehension from some groups to other groups for me first coming, but you know, that's all building relationships. It's okay. I'm okay with that. But no, as far as delivering the material and them absorbing it and them appreciating it, no. You know, they're just thankful and you know, it's a good experience. So there's no divide there.
That's great. Now, what of some of the activities and other events that you have planned in order to educate the community out there? You talked about getting out there and teaching them the human rights. What else are you doing to sort of make sure you get that message across? Because going one time doesn't seem to work. You got to go back. So what else are you trying to do to motivate them?
Well, besides going back to the same masjid more than once, which is fine, there's other activities Cair is involved in down here. We are doing some interfaith work, reaching out to the non-Muslim community.
How's that going?
It's going good. We have already established a lot of relationships. Cair is an organization. And I am starting, as a matter of fact, this week I have an appointment at United Methodist Church, a Christian church, and they contacted me. And yeah, they said, you know, we have a list of questions, but you can imagine what the questions are. They're pretty much all the same. But this is an opportunity for Cair to go to a non-Muslim community and build a bridge and build friendship and explain to them the Islam and really dispel the myths about because if you're not a Muslim and you don't have Muslim friends, you just kind of hear the crazy people talk about Muslims and Islam. Yeah, so that's one aspect. Another aspect that this month coming up, we're going to be at the University of Miami. We're holding a Sharia and a Constitution panel session because kind of the buzz in America now is anti-Sharia.
Yeah, the Sharia is a bad word.
Yeah, the Sharia, you know, there's a Sharia paper right there, you know, be careful. So that's, we're attending that event. We're going to be on a panel to discuss that, to kind of dispel the rumors because it's become just a huge focus point for the non-Muslim community that Sharia is coming to the United States to take over. And it's so ridiculous.
Because they don't even understand what the word means, but they're just using it out of context and so loosely, you know, because it's really like connotated when you hear Sharia. Okay, that's something bad. That's taking away your rights. That's, you know, dehumanizing. It's barbaric. That's exactly what the media portrays. So that brings me to my next question. What are you doing to dispel some of the myth that's out there with the media? Because the media has done so much harm in terms of Muslims and Islam. Yeah. What is Cair doing to dispel some of these myths?
Well, the first thing we're doing is we've established relationship, and I'm revisiting the relationships, which means I'm meeting with the media, meeting with the newspapers, meeting with the news stations, and establishing relationships with the reporters and the writers of those media outlets. and also being on the media. Cair is the most watched Islamic group on the news, period. No one even comes close. So we are on the news all the time. And recently in South Florida, I've been on the news challenging Congressman Allen West. He has been a strong voice against Islam. And he has been unchallenged throughout his entire campaign, but now he's a congressman, and it's irresponsible for him to continue that baseless rhetoric. So I have made it my responsibility, and people from the community have charged me with standing up against him. So recently I've been attending a couple of his town hall meetings, and a couple of the media outlets have picked it up and it's become national news. So all we can do as a Muslim community is stand up and try to teach people the truth about Islam. Now that's just not Cair. That everybody can do that.
We can all do that.
We can all do that, yeah. And it's important that people realize that Cair is not the only Islamic organization. You don't have to belong to an Islamic organization or Cair or any other one to stand up and say, hey man, what are you talking about? That's not true, you know. To do that, so that's important. So that what we're doing. Whenever we can, we are making sure that we get in front of the media and spread the truth about Islam and challenge the people that are attacking the Muslim community and Islam.
And I'm glad you're doing that, because you're leading by example. So if you go out there and you're doing that yourself, and you go to these masajids and these communities, you can tell them, hey, you know, you have a voice. And your voice, what you have to say is important, and you need to be heard. So don't sit back and let things happen, you know, but stand up and speak out. Because there is strength in unity. Absolutely. And there is strength and, you know, power in coming together. So that's something, you know, I'm sure that you're bringing that out when you go to these communities, to let them know that they have so much power. You know, we tell that to parents as well, you know, because I teach. And so when I meet with my parents, I said to them, I say, you know, you have more power than I do as a teacher. You have more power to speak up of what's going on about your child, because you have that right. And if you don't talk, nothing is going to happen. So a lot of individuals don't realize the power they have in their voice and to speak up. And I'm really happy that you're able to bring this out, you know, as part of something that Cair is doing to try to promote in the community.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's fantastic. At this point, we'll be taking another break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you would like to advertise your business on Al-Hikmat TV online 24/7, Al-Hikmat website, and Al-Hikmat Monthly Muslim Magazine, please contact the Al-Hikmat office at 954-986-0158. That's 954-986-0158.
Tune in for Friday Khutbah at 1:30 p.m., broadcasting live from Darul Uloom Institute, Pembroke Pines, Florida, on Al-Hikmat TV online.
Be careful if you make a woman cry, because God counts her tears. The woman came out of the man's ribs, not from his feet to be walked on, not from his head to be superior, but from his side to be equal, under the arm to be protected, and near the heart to be loved. So would you like to find your long-lost love, announce your engagement, perhaps find a husband or wife right from your very own home?
It is as simple as 1, 2, 3. Just advertise with us, AL-HIKMATLIVE.com. We are an internationally known Islamic website, and we are here for you. For your viewing pleasure, just click www.alhikmatlive.com.
Our mission is to spread the knowledge of Islam and entertain our millions of viewers in ways that are pleasing to Allah. Please join us every Friday at 1:30 p.m. for live khutbahs, sermons led by Sheikh Shafai Muhammad from Darul, Pembroke Pines, Florida. Commemorate a loved one on Al-Hikmat Weekly Highlights every Friday nights at 8:30 p.m. Learn more about Islam, the women of Islam, interfaith, and ways to enjoin good and forbid evil.
www.alhikmatlive.com. We do it all. Record it, broadcast it, voice it throughout the world.
All you have to do is watch us, advertise with us, and tell a friend. For more information, please call Al-Hikmat at 954-986-0158 or toll free at 1-800-804-0267.
Or click www.alhikmatlive.com.
He knows what is apparent and what is hidden. All the fate of creation has already been read.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. If you're now joining me, my guest today is Brother Nezar Hamze, the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We're talking about the media involvement, and Brother Nezar mentioned that he has a lot of exposure in terms of dealing with the politics in this country. So that brings me to my next question, Brother Nezar.
Yes.
How do you deal with all the politics? Because I know it goes on at a national level, local level, and probably even at the international level, what's going on in Libya at the moment.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Cair as an organization, we try to divvy the responsibility up because it is a lot for, let's say for me, to deal with all of those issues. So the local chapters, I will deal with the local politicians and the local politics, and the national chapter up in D.C. will handle the national issues and sometimes chime in on international issues. The relationship with the politicians kind of mirrors that same responsibility. So I have tried and also built relationships with local politicians and congressmen and you know, different forms of government and law enforcement to help that relationship and to be able to reach out when issues come. So that's kind of how we deal with it, so we're not overburdened you know, trying to deal with everything, you know,
right,
one
so
person
your
at
chapter
themselves.
doesn't have to deal with all the different levels, just sort of spread out across
Correct.
the board.
Everything is spread out.
That's
So we
great.
have a really good network, and we all chime in if nationals to speak about an international issue. We all contact them and give them our opinion. And it's important because a lot of us have family in the different countries. Like there's in Tunis there was just a problem, in Masr there was just a problem. Now there's in Libya there's a problem. So, and there's a lot of us that have family in different countries. So it's important to give that feedback. But that's how it's handled, to handle the politics from, you know, that's how we handle it with Cair.
That's good. It seems to be very organized.
Yeah.
Now, with the unrest that's happening in the Middle East, have you been faced with any questions from the media or from the public of what's going on and how Cair is responding to that?
Yeah, we get asked quite a bit from the community to weigh in on the international issues. And there's the most balanced thing to do as an organization is to get as much fact as we can before we publish a statement and address the issue for our constituency, all the Muslims in America. So we hear you loud and clear. It's like if something happens, you know, this happened in Libya, immediately people are calling us, how come you don't have a statement out immediately? Because we have to take our time, we have to do the responsible thing, and we have to get as many facts as we can before we issue in a statement. That's the most responsible thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that fact. You need to get the facts straight before you just go out there and make a statement, because a lot of times it can backfire if you don't have things to support what you're saying.
Correct.
So it's not really opinion-based, it's really fact-based, whatever you say to the public.
Very good. Yeah,
So that's good. I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Now, how can we as Muslims impact the media? Because the media has a large role to play in this community. How can we impact the media?
That's a very good question, and I want to spend some time on that because a lot of Muslims don't understand how the media works in the United States. The big media organizations that have control over the TV stations and the radio stations are fed the news by the local communities and the international communities. The news station, it just doesn't descend upon, the news doesn't descend upon the stations. The news is given to them. They send a reporter out, they do the stories. Another way media is given is through organizations like yours that do interviews and do press conferences and do highlights of communities, and they give the news. So a lot of the Muslim community doesn't understand this as something that's very important, that is, we can create our own media. You can create your own news, you can create your own highlights, you can create everything, and you can shoot it out. Now with today's technology, with the web, the sky's the limit. There's no, it's so easy. Yeah. So if there's an important issue that a Muslim wants to bring to light, they simply have to document it, hopefully professionally, and get it on the web, get it on YouTube. I was recently at a town hall meeting, and there was a clip done, and within 2 days, over 400,000 hits on that clip. That is the power of media, and as a result of that, the big stations picked it up. Channel 7, Channel 5, Fox, CNN, everyone is covering the news now.
And now it's a story.
It's a story,
yes.
And people don't realize why. Because it got started by someone simply just recording something and putting it on the internet. So we as Muslims have the power to make our own news, to make our own media, and broadcast it out there. Because let me tell you something, the news stations want that. They want to hear from the Muslim community because typically they only hear from Cair or ISNA or ICNA or Amana. They hear from the big organizations.
They want to hear from the individuals.
They want to hear from the grassroots people. They want to
yeah.
hear from the people. So, and that's good because, you know, take the organizations out. Our job is for the Muslim community, so we're with you. Yeah. So if the Muslim people would stand up and make their own media and contribute, it would be a lot better off for the Muslim community in the United States.
I tend to agree with you totally, because community is so dormant these days. You know, I think a lot of us don't realize how much power is available to us, or how much opportunities we have here as Muslims in the United States. And a lot of times people from other countries who are deprived of these basic rights that we have here, that we take so much for granted, when they come up to America, they think, oh, you have so much, and what are you doing? Yeah. You know, we're sitting down on it. We're sitting on a minefield, you know, and we don't realize it. Yeah. We can do so much. We have so much power, and I'm glad that you brought that up. It's time for us to get up, and I'm hoping that through, you know, this interview and us talking, that the community out there will realize, hey, I am important. I have a role to play. I can do something to make a difference. Yeah.
It's really important, and I want to talk about the community service real fast, because the Muslim community, like the word you use, passive, have been very passive, and I got to say that time is over. It's not the same time that we had 30 years ago. I grew up in South Florida. You know, the worst thing we dealt with in South Florida 30 years ago was that movie Not Without My Daughter.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was the
Susan
big thing, exactly.
Yeah.
Culture versus...
Yeah, that was the biggest issue we had. But now we're having a much more serious issue, and the Muslims need to understand something. That we are now dealing with the lawmakers of this country attacking Muslims and attacking Islam. And why? Because the Muslims have been very passive, and they come... they go to work, they come home, they pray, they say, Alhamdulillah, inshallah, we're going to do better. That's the past. It can't be like that anymore. Moving forward, the Muslim community has to understand that their voice has to be heard. They have to get involved with their masjids. They have to support their masjids. They have to go there. They have to pray. They have to participate in the events. They have to reach out to the other communities, the non-Muslim communities. They have to make dawah. They have to tell people about Islam. That is the way that moving forward the Muslim community has to behave and have to act. If they are not, it's going to become very hard for our children to have productive lives in this country because of the amount of hate and ignorance about Islam. We can't just sit back anymore and say, inshallah. Everything happens from God's will, we know that, but we need to do it, and we need to say it, and we need to stand up and make a difference. And that's the only way that we're going to be successful in this nation. Every constitutional right, every amendment that we have our rights to, everybody has the rights to, but we have our rights to as Muslims. And that passive attitude and the passive culture that they brought back, guess what? They're not there now. They're in America, and they need to practice the American society, and they need to speak up. So if that's a message I could give to the Muslim community, that's very powerful. And they, if they can act on that, I think the whole community will benefit.
You know, very well said, and you spoke with so much conviction when you're giving that message out there. I'm sure that our audience, they're listening to you and they're saying, well, you know what, it's time for me to get up. It's time for me to go beyond just the basics, because you mentioned that's what they're doing right now, just doing the very basics. They pray, they fast, they do what is, you know, required of them, and just that it. They're not going beyond, you know. And with this era, so much has changed from the past 30 years, as you so rightly mentioned. It's time for us to really open our eyes and see what is going on and what we can do to make a difference, because we can join forces. And you said the people want to hear from the grassroots. They want to hear from the people out there, not just the main organizations, because that's expected from them, but they need to hear from the people themselves. And if that is one message we can get across through this show, then I hope, inshallah, that will be it. The people need to know that they have a voice and they need to be heard. Now, you mentioned some of the past programs that you have already undertaken. What if you want to mention any more, then tell us a little bit about your future plans.
Really, my future plans for Cair, South Florida is to really just stay on the ground and educate the community. I think that everything else, as a result of me giving the Muslim community their education, will evolve itself. So my focus is for the next year will be to just continually, every week, as many times as I can, hit the masjids and schedule and get there and speak to the Muslim community, give them their rights, let them know what their rights are, give them my contact information. Also to let the Muslim community feel that they don't have to keep quiet if something happens to them. because that's another problem that we're facing now. A lot of the hate and the bigotry and discrimination is because people have done it to them and they haven't said anything. And because they're scared, no, please, just be quiet, mashallah, be quiet, alhamdulillah, and we'll get another job. It doesn't go like that in America. In America, if somebody does something wrong to you, you stand up and you fight for your rights. And that's what it means to live in America. And I'm going to just keep hitting the ground and keep telling the Muslim community to civically get involved, to get involved socially, and that's really what I'm going to do besides the other little events. So that's going to be my focus for the next year, inshallah.
So I'm really impressed that you're not focusing on just fundraising and getting the publicity out there, but really getting onto the grassroots of the people and educating them, because that seems to be the core of the message that you're giving us today. So I'm really impressed. And I'm hoping, the viewers that we have, that I think they got the message. Inshallah. So I'm really happy. It was a pleasure to have you on our program today, and I'm hoping, in future that you will come back again and maybe tell us a little bit more about the things that, how's it going in terms of education and the feedback from the community. So we look forward to having you on our program again. That brings us to the end of this segment of Who's Who in America and the Community. My guest today was Brother Nezar Hamze, the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Stay tuned for another edition of Who's Who in America, and this brings us to the end of this segment. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wallahu akbar. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wallahu